Welcome to the Limitless podcast. My name is Byron Sakha and I'll be your host for the show, where we are dedicated to bringing you the latest and greatest insights, tools and strategies to help you take your mind, business, relationships and physical health to limitless heights. In this episode, we have Jason Irving, who is a spiritual teacher, healer and founder of the Wellness Breakthrough Academy. You'll be hearing about Jason's incredible journey from being a skeptic towards self-help to eventually starting and running his own spiritual practice, where for years he was booked out months in advance. He has a very grounded approach to personal transformation and will be going deep on topics from business to parenting to personal growth and all things life expanding. I trust you'll find it full of valuable insights, so enjoy, and I look forward to hearing your reviews and comments after the show. Today, very excited to have a special guest, Jason Irving, who's a gentleman who I met only a couple of weeks ago when we were at an event in Melbourne of Australia, and we hit it off. We had lunch together, and before we knew it, we were going all things deep on personal development, transformation, relationships, business, talking about all things under the sun to do with expanding our potential. So I invited him here today to be a guest on the show, and I'm super excited. So Jason, welcome.
Yeah, thanks mate. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
Pleasure to have you. And Jason's actually traveled a couple of hours from Canberra. For those of you who don't know where that is, it's a 3-hour drive from Sydney, and he's up here with his wife and your...
3 kids.
3 kids,
yeah.
Wow. So that's a bit of a handful to travel with.
It's hard work, but you know, it's the best thing in the world. You know, I've got a 12-year-old, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, they're a little bit challenging, but the best thing you can ever have is having kids.
Yeah, amazing. Planning any more?
Not a chance.
Okay. Yeah, because that's when it gets tough, right? You got to start getting a bigger car and like the Tarago or the
we've got a pretty
6-seaters.
Big car. We've got a 7-seater right now,
Okay.
and we only just fit in.
Okay.
And we've got a roof rack on the top to put bags in.
Okay.
And the worst thing about that is I had to actually pull that off, because you know what it's like in Sydney with the parking.
Yes.
I had to take that off.
The ceiling height limits.
Otherwise we were going to have a few problems with our luggage compartment. It was going to get knocked off, so I had to take that up, carry it up to our apartment hotel.
Oh wow!
And put it in. I'm going to have to bolt it all back in, and then off we get back
to go back. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Great to have you here.
Yeah, pleasure.
So Jason, for the listeners, tell us a bit about yourself. What field are you in? What's your specialty? Tell us a little bit about your business, and then I want to go back to the origin stories. But maybe just a quick highlight now, an overview.
Yeah, so I run a business called the Wellness Breakthrough Academy, and it's basically I'm setting up an academy for personal development so people can actually grow into helping people in the wellness industry. So I found a little bit of a hole in the industry that I want to fill, and I've got a real passion to help people really find out what's under the covers, what's really holding them back from creating the life that they want.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I use lots and lots of different techniques, and they're very, very unique. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the stuff that I'm sharing in my business. My wife and I run it.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. We just kicked it off actually in February.
Okay.
At the moment, we're getting it in the process of getting it internationally accredited through insurance at the moment.
Amazing.
So it's to and froing at the moment, just getting the balls running for that.
Fantastic. And we're going to cover a lot more about that in today's episode, because I'd love to hear where you've come from and what led you to be where you are now. So tell us the origin story. Where did you initially, what initially sparked your interest in personal development and personal transformation? How long ago? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, 1997. I was in Vancouver, and I was running with one of my mates, 6'7", giant of a man, you know, a Greek Adonis sort of physique, and he's this little redheaded fella trying to keep up with him, and I ended up with a sore knee and a sore back.
Okay.
And I went into this. I was looking around to get something, some help, you know, and I went into this. I had a look at this this shop front, and it had all these words on the side of the shop front, what they did, and I didn't know any of the words except for chiropractic, so I was like, maybe that'll help.
Okay.
I had no idea about health at all, so I just went in and thought, I need some chiropractics, and I walked out of that experience. I had a couple of sessions. I walked out of that experience, and I had a lot of emotional stuff come up from my past that had come up that I'd never spoken to anyone about, and sort of had that feeling that I really wanted to do something different. And I ended up, doing a bicycle trip down the west coast of America with my partner at the time. And just before I was going, I completely blew my ankle on a tree stump playing hacky sack in the backyard.
Hacky sack?
Yeah.
Really?
So I blew my ankle, and then, I'm hobbling around the place. I went and saw these people again. And one session, it was better. And,
really?
One session. And basically, I went there and told them, this is what I want to do. And so I went, and the technique was called craniosacral therapy. So
Say that again slowly.
Craniosacral therapy.
Craniosacral therapy. Wow. And that's who you saw for your ankle, and in one session it completely healed it.
Completely fixed. So and then I got on my bike. I was traveling down the west coast, and I was perfectly fine. So it gave me that impetus to start this process and start rolling. And then I woke up on the way to a place called Victoria on Vancouver Island, and I bolted up right in my tent because we had all our stuff on panniers. We were, serious, full-on bike trip. And I bolted up right and said to my partner at the time, I said, I really want to become a healer and a teacher.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
Right? I just wanted it.
Yeah, just like a burst of insight, an epiphany.
Then I went and saw an astrologer, and the astrologer, all they did was talk about me. This is what I was going to do. You're going to be a healer and a teacher, and this is your job.
Yeah.
Right? I was just like, okay, this is a bit weird, because I didn't even know anything about astrology.
Yes.
I didn't believe in any of this sort of stuff at all.
Yes.
I just thought it was all smokes and mirrors, because when you don't know something, you just call it wrong.
Exactly, right? And I think that's a common reaction some people have to when they hear a little bit about sometimes the healing arts, or that recoveries can happen spontaneously or without the need for long and enduring rehab work and that sort of thing. So when they hear about wellness can be obtained sometimes in an instant or in a shorter period of time than what the rational mind may think is possible or not possible, we think, we discount it immediately, thinking, that's woo-woo.
100%.
That's spiritual jargon. And it's really cool and refreshing to hear from you that you initially had a little bit of that mindset where you're like, what is this? I've never heard of it. It's a bit skeptical towards it. So tell us a bit more about what was the shift? What did you see that caused you to go, wait a minute, there's realness here?
Well, the shift was actually the personal experience that I had.
Yeah, cool.
So having that personal experience, I think if you don't have a personal experience to know that something's possible, then it's not real. So I had that personal experience. My body felt 100% better.
Yeah.
And so I started going on a journey to find out how to do this. So it was actually my personal experience when I look back that made it real. And I actually talk about that to my students about nothing is real until you experience it in life.
Yeah.
And that's what I truly believe. So I tell everyone, I tell everyone stories about, where people have healed from cancer with the work that I do and that sort of thing. And I expect them to not believe me because they haven't experienced them themselves.
Yes.
And so I think a really good, healthy dose of skepticism is really, really important.
Yes.
I'm really skeptical on the work that I do and continue to do that to make sure that I'm honing what I know in a better way.
That's really cool. And I think that creates credibility and trustworthiness to in fact be encouraging people. Be skeptical, that's fine. At the same time, I think it's also important to have some sense of openness. Would you agree?
100%.
So that they can at least test something out. Because if we decide something's not possible, well then that becomes our reality. Our reality is a reflection of our beliefs. So
100%.
if we believe that, nope, I could never get better, or nope, this my anxiety or my depression or whatever mental unwellness we may have or physical unwellness we may have, if we've decided that that's just the way we are, then we don't have any option to even inquire about creating some sort of change or transformation.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And then there's these other experiences that I've had with people.
Yeah.
Where
Tell us.
someone comes in and they've been dragged along by their wife.
Yes.
And they're like, I've had people look at me in the eyes and say, I don't believe in this shit.
Yeah.
It's all a load of crap. I'm here because my wife told me to come.
Yeah.
And I'm just here, and I don't believe in you. I don't believe in anything that you do.
Yeah, they just told you straight out, right?
Straight up, and I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And basically, I respond to, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing too sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But one thing I do know, it's worked for thousands of people.
Yeah.
So I say, well, why don't you try and be a little bit open and see what happens?
Yeah.
And if something happens that's different, then you'll experience something else. And then I just give them a little doorway, a crack of a door. And usually what happens, because I'm agreeing with them that I don't really know sometimes what I'm doing, it gives them the acknowledgement that they're actually in a safe place, and then all of a sudden the door opens wide and their life completely changes.
Yeah.
So it's all all I need is a little crack.
I love it.
And if I get a crack, I can open that door really wide.
That's
and
amazing.
it comes down to knowing how to language someone, especially a non-believer.
Yes.
You know, so I really acknowledge a non-believer and let them have that core belief with them. So then, because I'm open to their lack of belief in what I do, it actually opens the doorway for me to help them.
I love it. So many key distinctions. I love the saying that for those who believe, no proof is necessary. For those who don't, no proof is enough. And I think honoring where a person's at, and it's the pushiness that causes people to repel or to really move further away, versus when we acknowledge where someone's at and say, look, that's totally cool. And I can absolutely relate. In my own business, I've had people with severe anxiety or depression, and they've been to counselors or psychologists or other people who are meant to be in the mental health field. And so they've naturally built up a point of disbelief that change can happen. And therefore they've come to a conclusion that, well, I did have the courage and I finally reached out, but I didn't get any help. And if they can't help me, then I don't believe now I can be helped. It's now deeply rooted that I don't think I can change. And just acknowledging that, I find it just removes a slight guard and defense to say, man, that must have really sucked, or that must be tough. I totally understand that a lot of people are suffering in silence, and they won't put themselves out there because they're worried about being embarrassed about the fact that they don't have all their shit together, which no one really does, by the way, at all 100%. Times. And then just acknowledging, saying, well, what if we just had a conversation and you come and met me, or we had a phone call for just 10-15 minutes and we just have a bit of a chat. What you may find is what lots and lots of other clients have experienced, that they have been able to create some positive change. So is that worth maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute chat? Or you could choose to keep doing what you've been doing and you'll get the same results. So sometimes, like you said, you just need that tiny little crack, because what's the worst case scenario? So, okay, you've wasted an hour of your time.
Exactly.
In the scheme of your life, an hour. But what if it could be some of those changes that you're really deeply longing for?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think the thing that you touched on there, Byron, is really, really important, is that there are a lot of people who are helping people at the moment who are not well themselves. So a lot of those people that you're talking about have seen people who are not in a balanced place to help. So
now we're going deep.
So they actually can't supply what that person needs. And so when people, I've been a last resort guy for lots and lots of people over the years, and they've told me afterwards, you are my last resort. And even to the point of, you are my last resort, because if I didn't see you and you didn't turn this around, blaming me, that they wouldn't actually be here anymore. They would have chosen to take their lives. And I didn't know that at the time. They just told me afterwards that I was their last resort. And typically it's because a lot of people haven't really dug deep enough into their own stuff as a carer to be able to help. You know, so they can only get someone to a certain point, and then that person needs more. And if you are not deep enough within yourself, you will never be able to help someone with their own stuff. So I believe working on myself is paramount to get the best out of somebody else. And I still continue to do this to this day.
I think that is extraordinarily powerful, and I want to even reiterate what I'm hearing, because that is such an important key insight, is that if we don't work on our stuff, then we're going to pass on our own wounds to others, where we might take it into a relationship, or we'll take it into our workplace. And particularly if we're in a position of leadership, then we're only going to be able to lead and inspire others to the point that we've led and inspired ourselves. So, and unfortunately, I've personally also seen it, Jason, in the healthcare industries, where the carers, they get into the industry, and I understand we all do initially because we're curious to learn more about ourselves.
Oh, we're all a little bit broken. That's why people go into it.
Yeah. So we want to learn about ourselves, and then depending on what methodologies you learn or how deep you really go into the work to heal some of our wounds, or to bring back together parts of ourselves that we perceive to be split or so-called broken. Then if we don't do that, and then we start treating clients or seeing clients or patients or whatever we call the people that we work with, we're going to pass that forward. Yeah. Because how can we help someone create transformation that we haven't yet experienced or created in our own life? So that's what I'm loving that your approach is that you've done the work on yourself so that you can pay forward your experiences.
Look, have you had that experience, Byron, that when you see a clump of, like, let's say in a month, you'll be mirrored back some of the stuff that you haven't solved yet?
100%.
Right? So it's a continuing process. Yeah. So every time someone comes and sees me, let's say there's health issues.
Yeah.
So I've just finished a 7-day fast. Right? Because there was a whole bunch of people coming to see me with health issues. So I was like, okay, I need to lift my game with my insights.
Yes.
And I've fasted. I love fasting. It's one of my favourite things to do. So I look at it and go, okay, there's a whole bunch of people telling me about my health right now that I need to look after it.
Yeah.
So as a leader, I posted on my page, I'm doing a 7-day fast. I've had a whole bunch of people actually do it with me.
Yeah.
Some people manage to do 3 days, 2 days.
Yeah.
Just showing that if someone's coming with these particular things constantly at me, I know I've got to lift my game in that area. So I lead based on where people are stuck, if it's a commonality that's coming towards me. Do you have that experience?
I love
as well?
that. Yeah, I can certainly relate. There's a saying that one of my mentors taught me a while back, was that we will never face a client that we're not ready for, and that they're going to reflect back to us our stuff.
Yeah.
So if we, exactly as you've just mentioned, that if we keep coming across a certain theme, then it would be wise to look within and go, okay, where am I experiencing some of this? Where am I experiencing some of this? And where is there room for me to grow and for me to shift and for me to evolve? Exactly. And then when we do that, our ability to help others just went up a notch.
100%.
So we get gifts all the time from our clients.
Yeah. I had a really cool period of time for about a month or so where I had all these people who had just atrocious diets, really unhealthy and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And I was trying to tell them what they needed to do while I was every day going to the shops and having a pie with sauce and a sausage roll for lunch.
Yes.
And I was like, why aren't these people changing, for God's sakes? This is just not right. And then I was just like, hang on a minute. So I completely had to rewire all my food intake at lunch. Yeah. And once I did that, they all started changing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. I've got to be on the bandwagon with them. And I think this is what can be missing, is that people can be martyrous in the way that they are telling people how they need to be without actually doing it with them. And I'm a doing it with you model. If someone's stuck, I'll do it with them rather than and show them the way, as opposed to say, do it this way. I think that's a far healthier way, by leading by example and showing.
I think so too. I really love that, because there's almost like an unconscious energy around it in terms of the conviction a practitioner will have and the certainty that they have in the way they speak, their body language, the energy, the conviction with how they share a message, versus if it's just spoken words. Like, they're saying the right thing to a client. They're saying, yeah, sure, what they're saying is wise and it's giving good insight, but if they don't really embody it themselves, then it seems to creates a gap in how much the client's really going to take on board some of the value from those sessions.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What we're talking about here is knowledge and wisdom. Right? So knowledge, everyone can jump on Facebook or jump on a website or do a course and have knowledge. Now, knowledge is so simple to attain these days because we've got Google. If we want to find something out, I Googled your place to find you. Right? We don't go and look on a map like we used to and try and figure it out. And we've got this huge map in our car. We Google it and we find out information. Knowledge is a waste unless it's wisdom. And wisdom is the experience of the knowledge. Yeah. And that's why why I loved talking to you down in Melbourne, because you've got a really punchy voice. And what I mean by that is a person who's got a really punchy voice is they've got something behind them, and so do I. You know, so I've got a voice that punches people in a really healthy way to say, listen. And there are times when I'm talking in my classes and things where everyone's just sitting there just going, okay, it's like they've been blown with a wind blower, because I'm just saying, hey guys, here it is. Yeah. And they just all silent, and then I'm sort of out of my zone. I was like, am I making sense at all, guys? Because they're just taking it all in. Yeah. And you've got that,
thank you,
Byron, a really punchy voice, so it makes someone stand up and listen. And that's very, very different, because wisdom comes from the punchy voice. Right? So you know how you can just hear someone talk, then you hear someone really talk, and they've got something about them that you just have to sit and listen to. It makes a big difference, and that's what you want to find. Any of you guys, you want to find someone who's got that really strong punchy voice, because they will lead you to a beautiful life. Yeah, in my opinion.
I love that. It goes beyond the surface spoken words, and it starts to talk to your intuition in a sense, where you feel it deep in your body, like this resonates so deeply, versus the logical mind where it's like, yeah, that makes sense if I go through my rational criteria of, is it logical, does that sound practical, and it's just very heady, versus when someone really speaks to us in the core, you feel it in your heart, and you get goosebumps. I get goosebumps when I'm deeply inspired. I get goosebumps instantly, and I'm like, whoa, that's speaking to my whole essence.
Yeah. And that's what's really important, is that, you know, that's where a true leader comes in, is that if they're speaking to people's hearts, then the information that's coming through is just makes people stand up, you know. And I've had a lot of people say to me, you know, after an event or something that I've said, it's like, you were just speaking to me. Everything that you were speaking about was just to me. And then the next person comes by and says, you were just speaking about me just then. And then the next person does the same thing. And I've had that so often because I speak the language of the heart rather than the mind. And, you know, that's where the wisdom comes in. You're able to look down into someone's eyes, see their soul and see what they've got, rather than actually what's in their head, which is, we do little loops and all sorts of things up here. If it hits our heart, then it's actually going to trigger something very, very different inside of us.
Yeah, awesome. And that's a message that I do my best to encourage, even in the workforce where it's working with organizations or business leaders. It's that if they're complaining about some of the employees or their team members are a bit disengaged or unmotivated, it's a lot of the cause is that the leader is so focused on trying to grow the business and increase profits and revenue and achieve more, yet they think that that's going to give them what they need, and it's a matter of pushing the team more so that they can get more, versus, well, when you really shift your focus from getting more to giving more and actually start caring about your team genuinely and really coming from that place of love rather than a place of, it's almost the fear mindset where it's like, oh, I'm not good enough, I need to achieve more. So we become a bit self-focused versus, well, how can I inspire my team to want to do more? And then it's coming from that place of, well, what do I need to give them? Can I check in with them to see if they're okay? Do they need more support? Am I continuing to upskill my own leadership? Or am I just giving away the problem, blaming someone else? So I love how you've touched on that. When you connect to that heart space, not only do we experience more joy and fulfillment in our own life, but we get to actually influence and inspire others to also create better change in their life.
Yeah, we do. Look, I had someone post something up on Facebook, and they asked this question. They said, you know, what's the most important thing in your business? And what I heard a lot of responses was, you know, sales, conversions, and all of this. And mine was how I can make sure that the content that I provide, the students in my academy, is the best content available, so they really get as much as they can and grow as far and as fast and as deep as they humanly possibly can. That was my response.
Yeah.
There wasn't very many responses though that were based on that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what my first and foremost point is for me is as deep as I can go, and then make the work that I do and sharing of it as deep as it can be for the people, because I believe that if your quality of what you're providing is really, really, really great, then the people will come. You know, there's a spiritual law around this called the cause of law and effect. Now, I run that law, which is I focus on what the process is, and then the result people will come. That's not important to me. I want to make sure that everyone gets the best from what I'm dishing out. Yeah. And then that's happened, you know, in my whole life. You know, when I was working as a therapist, I was booked out 4 weeks in advance, 6 weeks in advance for about 10 years.
That's incredible.
And it was all based on referral, because everyone's like, you've got to go and see this guy. I don't know what the hell he does. You just got to go and see this guy because he's awesome. And that's all I got. And I was just focusing on the best moment. And I had this really cool thing that someone said to me. I did a massage course in 2001, I think. Okay. Started it. And he had this big book of how to be the best massage therapist you can be. And there was one line in that book that I'll never ever forget. And I've taken that with every single part of my business. And it was make every stroke count. Right? So what I do is I look at our breath, I look at the way the body language is, I look at everybody and see how they are and make everything count. So, and I take that into my personal life, because I believe it's what you do when no one's looking that really matters. You know, so there are things that I do for people in the world that no one knows about, that I do because that's who I am. And it's when no one's looking is what really makes the person, rather than the person on camera or what we're doing right now. You know what I mean?
It's very powerful, very powerful. And I think that's an important lesson for people to be aware of, that if we're only focusing on how good we look or how good we're performing or behaving when we're in the spotlight, and then at the end of the day though we're questioning why we're maybe not achieving the true results we're really desiring, then that's a good question to reflect on. Am I being congruent out of the spotlight with who I am in the spotlight? And if those two marry up, that's when real results start to occur.
I love this about my kids. I'm the guy who talks to everyone. Right? So I talk to everybody, and they're always trying to drag me away from people I've never met before. Right? And like what? And then people just give me stuff. It's like I'd be at places like, why is that guy giving you stuff? It's just like, because I'm nice, Jesse. I'm nice to everyone. I treat people with kindness, and they give me kindness back. And they're just watching that, because one of the most important facets for me as a person is to be the best dad I can be.
That's awesome.
Right? And to show them how you are nice to everyone in life, and then you get it back. And people just like, you know how you get those trinkets at Woolies and Coles? Anya always sends me down because she knows I'm going to talk to someone and I'm going to be really nice with them. And then they just shovel me a bag load full of these things for the kids.
Really?
It's always better when you go, because you're always going to be talking to someone. And they go, have all of these. I'm like, I didn't ask for them, but people just, because of the kindness and the care, you know when you ask someone, we do this all day, how are you? Now, how many people actually want to know the answer to that?
I've thought the same thing. Not many. And
it's
so, like a hello, hey, how are you? But
and we don't actually get the answer. So I'm always offering that little bit more. It's a really cool thing they did. I think it was about 2002, 2003. There was this lady. I used to work in the IT industry as a programmer.
Okay.
And this lady I used to get mockers, right?
Mockers?
Yeah.
What are mockers?
Like chocolate and coffee.
Oh, okay.
Because a bit of a chocolate.
Oh, a chocolate mocha. Yeah. Okay.
So this lady, biggest smile every day. I think I was just going down there for the smile, not for the coffee.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then one day she had she was just really, really upset. Right? And I saw her and I said, I just want to let you know, every single day I come down here because of that big, gorgeous smile that you have, and you don't have it on today. I'm going to give you mine.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then the next day, She gave me the double.
See, goosebumps.
Yeah, that's right.
Inspiring message.
She
Goosebumps.
gave me the double smile.
Yeah.
I didn't need to do that. I needed to do that for her. Does that make sense? I noticed her extra service that she would do every single day, and I would express it when she was down. Right? And that's just sort of human nature, I think, that is gone missing, that the noticing parts of when someone is looking after you via a coffee, let's say, and you're willing to actually step up when they're not feeling great, and you notice, and the next day, huge smile, and she was really grateful the fact that someone actually really noticed her and what she did.
I love that. I really, really love that. And props to you for caring enough to give that gift to someone of acknowledgement, validation, appreciation.
Yeah.
So powerful.
I think it's important.
I remember when I was maybe 17 or 18, I watched a movie and it was Robert Redford was the main actor.
Oh, yeah.
And he was this really, really successful businessman, but so highly respected. And I remember someone was talking to his wife about him, talking to Robert Redford's wife about Robert Redford, and they were saying that, I remember I met him once down the corridor about 5 years ago, and when I saw him a few weeks ago, he still remembered my name. And then the wife said, he's always been known as a man who inspires confidence in others.
Yeah.
And from that age, I was like, wow, that is a trait it's like a mission to be known for. What an honor for people to recognize that you inspire confidence in others. And and at my 21st birthday, a friend, when he was giving a speech about me, said that about me, that I do that, and that was like the highlight.
Wow,
I was like, oh wow,
that's a really special thing to have, isn't it? To have someone reflect on you as something that you have inspired to want to be, and someone's thrown it at you on your birthday.
Yeah. So that was
great.
You reminded me of that with your awesome story about the lady at the cafe. I want to rewind just a little bit, because you're talking about the example you aspire to be for your children and the role model. Tell me, how important do you think that is for children to have a healthy role model and healthy parenting?
I think it's the most important thing, because if we are not sharing our best self with our kids, then how are they going to learn anything? So everything starts at home. We can't expect school system to provide what they're meant to provide if we're not providing it at home. So one of the things that's really, really important for me is making sure that I'm really there for my kids. A lot of dads aren't necessarily often there for their kids.
Yeah.
So even in the mornings, I don't have that we both take Liam to school in separate cars, and I take my son to school, both of us in separate cars, and walk him to the school just because we can, because I've got time to do it, and I want to make sure that he sees that I'm actually doing stuff with him, and he gets to model that. So I have a son, and my mum did something really, really special for me. She turned me into a gentleman. Now my son is amazing. He opens the door for his mum.
Yeah.
Right. He does all these wonderful things for his mum because he's getting it modelled by his dad.
Yeah.
And you're like that. You're amazing. You walked me into your place, and I was a little bit uncomfortable because you were doing me. So you were actually walking me and saying, "Here, you first." And I was like, "Oh, that's my job. Like, what are you doing? You're taking my job away, bud." And then I was like, "Hang on a minute. He's showing me into his space. I've got to do the due courtesy and walk first." You are an absolute gentleman, and doing that when you obviously don't have kids.
No.
So the idea is knowing that is such an important trait. And all the mums look at Liam and just go, "Oh my God, he's so amazing." And the girls absolutely love him now because of the way he is. He's really, really caring. Yeah. And that's what I do. I've got that. I put that really deep care into the kids. And we had this amazing experience from the daycare, from my little one, that one of the daycare people said to me, "The kids are better kids when Charlotte's around."
Yeah, wow.
Right? And
What
so
a
imagine
compliment.
that for a 2-year-old. I'm hearing that for my 2-year-old. So how is she getting that? She's getting that from the model behaviour from us. right? That the kids are in better shape when she arrives, and she's only there for 2 days. So I know what I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
And it's really, really helping with my kids to show them the way, how to be respected, how to be cared for, how to set boundaries, how to do the right thing for yourself, showing that through leading, being the best person that you can be, not trying to fix them, showing by modelled behaviour how they can be the best people that they can be.
Yeah, I love it. So many ideas racing through my mind now. I think where to begin? I had so many thoughts as you were sharing that. The children, their most influential time when they're in that 0 to 7 years is where their blueprint of the world is created, as I'm more than sure you know. And so when they can't speak necessarily at that age, they energetically receive so much from the parents, and it's unfortunately when the parents don't have their, for lack of a better word, when they don't have their shit together because they're so anxious and they're so caught up trying to get their stuff together, or they're focused on work stresses, financial pressures, relationship pressures, then energetically what they have space and time to offer the children can be diluted, instead of when they work on themselves to self-develop, to mentally really get themselves on top of things and create balance in their lives, then they're going to have that space and time to be able to actually influence and give the children the support, the direction, the guidance that they really need. And I think it's kind of like this vicious cycle. Tell me, how much have you noticed that unfortunately sometimes adults are really just growing up children because they didn't have the guidance and support when they were growing up, so they have limiting beliefs, or their blueprint of the world is not necessarily serving them to their best ability, so therefore they have no other knowledge, but they'll end up passing it forward and the cycle continues. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. So a child may grow up with parents that, for lack of awareness or lack of education, passed on certain beliefs, certain habits. So the child has grown up without knowing better because it was deeply embedded in their unconscious, and then they hit their teens and early adulthood. What do you think in terms of choices that exist though, for how we can break the patterns, how we can create a new direction for where we take the rest of our life?
Look, I think what happens is these patterns that come up from 0 to 7, you know, they come up, and then we hit a certain point in our 20s, and this is our mistake riddle time, you know, and then over time we just start bumping up against those things, and the thing that we're going to have to do is deal with them. You know, so however it is, or we are ignorant to them and we just keep hitting the wall and we can't see the door. And the door's right there. And this is where we actually need someone else's help to actually show what's happening. Because when you're you don't know what you're doing. You can't see it as well. So someone needs to come in and help you unravel the things that are in your subconscious that you've stored, so you can be aware of it. And once you become aware, sometimes it's hard to change it. Because you're aware of it doesn't mean you can change it. It just means you have that awareness to take some time to break free of that. So what I do a lot of the time is I work with people's subconscious stuff, subconscious emotions, limitations, and thoughts that come up from childhood, and show them what they're for. Right? And then when I show them what they're for, rather than why they're holding them back, it's a game changer.
Tell us more about that.
So what that means is we've got this lack of... I meet a lot of people who are lacking in confidence. So what they do is, because they're lacking in confidence, they compensate. Right? So they do all of these absolutely amazing things in life while they feel terrible inside. And so they have this thing called a compensation gift. It's subconsciously ingrained in them while their pattern is not good enough. So what I see with the pain that people suffer, in quotes, is that becomes your intellectual property to help yourself change. Once you change its perception of what it's here for rather than what it's doing to you, it's a game changer. Your whole world starts to unravel, and you realise that all the things that have created problems there's solutions on the other side that you've met that you don't even see that you've done until someone can look at them and reflect on them, how great they are.
Yeah.
So I look at doubt as an amazing thing. If we don't have it, then we're just going to believe everyone, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then we have this doubt that crushes us, but doubt that expands us. So I show people different ways of looking at the words and the thoughts that they have and see what they're here for, as opposed to what breaks them down. And once they get that, they love all their problems. And that's how I work. I have a threefold methodology, which is honour your thoughts, accept your emotions, and acknowledge your limitations. And once you do those three things, you become a little bit more limitless. You're able to handle your maturity around your emotions, and your thoughts have a purpose as opposed to a problem. And that just changes it. I think we all need a certain amount of help to get there. I think it's really, really important that we can't do it on our own. And doing it with a tribe or doing it with a great leader, one-to-one, is imperative for all of us. You know, that's where I think.
I could not agree anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
I think more and more people are learning about coaching or advanced personal development, consulting or mentoring, lots of different names for it, because some of the old methodologies, while they've been around for a long time, a lot of them aren't working. So there's a new evolution occurring in people who have got more efficient methods to help people really break free of some of those limitations. And I think what's amazing is that when you look at any area of life, from sportsmen to people in business, they've had coaches for as long as time has existed, or some kind of mentor, or even back to the ancient Greeks, they had their philosophers that taught their students how to think more wisely and how to take more strategic action to get them great results. And then somewhere along the line, though, we have this idea that, if I experience some anxiety, or if I experience a bit of shame or a sense of unworthiness, then there's something wrong with me and I need to cover that up. And therefore we have this pattern where we'll put on a bit of a mask, where we want to show to the world, I'm fine, I'm good, I've got all my stuff together, but deep down we're kind of feeling inadequate, or we're feeling dissatisfied. And what I love, and this is part of my mission, which is, as we share and why we have a lot in common, is helping people realize that you don't have to do it on your own, and that there's nothing wrong with you to seek some guidance, seek some help, speak to some people who have some experience in the area that you're looking to create change. Because if we don't, then we're just going to continue to suffer quietly, hoping that something may just change by itself, or even worse, we're waiting for someone else outside of us to maybe do it for us, instead of realizing that no, any change is possible if we're prepared to do the work. And isn't that what courage is? Versus fear is hiding behind the facade, whereas it takes courage to open up and say, hey Jason, I've got some stuff going on, I've heard you've helped countless people, maybe I'm wondering if this situation particularly, you got any experience with it. I think that takes great courage to be able to open up like that. There's nothing weak about that.
100%. I think that's the biggest misnomer in leadership. I've walked away from so many situations with leaders, in quotes, who are talking the talk and showing a bravado, and I can see right through that. I see the cracks in all the bravado, and I'm looking at them saying, why don't you just show and share that you actually have stuff going on that you're still working on, and being vulnerable enough to share that. No one will leave. It actually makes the people who are receiving the information feel more normal. And you don't feel like you have to step up to a plate that's too hard to step up to. And I started changing this quite a while ago, sharing my vulnerabilities and where I'm stuck. I do that now and talk about the things that I'm struggling with, and people support me. You know, all the students support me. They say, isn't it great that you're working on this with us, Jason? It's so nice that you're actually willing to share where other people don't.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? And I'm never afraid to say I'm scared of something. You know, actually scared of what I'm doing at the moment because
Yeah.
I've not done it before.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that's happening, I was getting the most amazing feedback of the work that I am doing, because I used to do it in a way where I do a course and everyone's like, that was amazing. What the hell did he do that weekend? Whereas this is all landed and structured and really clean,
Yeah.
that people can just take on board. And it's scary because I've never structured the way that I'm doing my work. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I know it off the back of my hand.
Yes.
But to actually say, okay, here's a way to do it, to see if I can actually get that to work for others. I've not thought that I'd be able to do that, and it's working. You know, it's terrifying because I'm like, is this not going to work? Is this all going to go terrible, and I'm going to have no money, and we're going to be out in the street eating from the bins, right? And you know, I think that, and I tell people this is sometimes I'm feeling like, you know, everything's going to turn upside down, and I'm going to start having to eat from the bins. Nothing's going to work. And I let them know that that's where I'm at. And then they watch me and they go, but you're doing all of these things, Jason. Look at what you're doing. It's inspiring. They can see me with my stuff, and I'm not getting stuck by it. I'm progressing and carrying it with me as opposed to it holding me back.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's a big change looking at it that way, though.
And how important do you think it is to be willing to push through the fears and the boundaries of our comfort? How important do you think that is to one's growth?
I think it's the most important thing, because on the other side of a lack of comfort is your freedom, right? So we're jailed by comfort. So we have to move into a little bit of an uncomfortable zone, and leaders do that. You know, leaders go. You guys have to realise that the leaders are actually in the most uncomfortable zone imaginable, because they're stepping on air. They're not stepping on concrete because they're leading. So they don't sometimes know exactly where they're going to land.
Yeah.
So us guys have a bigger step. We have to, you know, maybe feel uncertain and know that we've got to push through and drive through areas that we've never driven through. So then we're laying a road for other people to follow. Right. So we have the biggest, sometimes the hardest job, because we're saying, hey, come along, guys. And we're like, well, I'm not sure where we're going. I'm not sure where we're going, but we're going to go somewhere, right? And it's going to be great. And so we've got to be able to lead that and express that uncomfort zone in a way that we can be certain that we're going to get somewhere. And one thing, would you agree with this, that a leader has to make as many mistakes as humanly possible to get somewhere?
You've got to be prepared to make them, that's for sure.
You got to be prepared. And then the coolest thing about making mistakes is that's where your IP is. So you can show somewhere, you can give all the shortcuts where you've actually taken a long road. And I've done that. You know, I've been working with people for 20 years and I've taken some long cuts. You know, and now I know how the shortcuts, how I can really shorten someone's and expedite someone's growth. Right? I've done things the long way a lot of the time. You know, it's been, and I would never give up the long road for anything. You know, because it's allowed me to take a shorter, finer route with the people who want to change fast.
And I think it's so important for people to hear that whilst now you're achieving some great things and you're making rapid growth in your business and you're expanding and you're getting more and more students every day joining your programs, that it's taken you 20 years to get to a point now where the real expansion can happen. And I think it's a little bit of an epidemic in particularly Western culture today, where we want everything yesterday, don't we? We want it now, and we feel a little bit at times entitled, like, oh, I should have it already. But it's important to really reflect, have we put the dues in? Have we earned the right to have and experience the success that we're really seeking?
Look, I think the biggest epidemic is people saying, hey, I made it fast, right? And so everyone goes, well, I want what he's having or she's having.
Exactly.
The thing is, they don't tell you how long it took them to get to that, you know, to shoot the bullet easily. You know, so before that, they didn't even have a gun. Right? So they don't explain that part. And then there are the people who actually just go like a rocket ship and do it really fast. Now that's a minority. And those people are saying, hey, you can do it like me. And most people actually don't have that capacity to do it that fast. It's like beautiful humans. Like, you're a beautiful looking human, Byron. I'm not, right? So there's not that many around, right? that's how it is. Like, we have minorities that have a beauty or an ability to really create fast, and then we've got the normal where it takes a little bit more time, and we have to be dealing with our psychology and our emotions and those sorts of things, and take a little bit of a longer road. And it's a far greater journey when you actually get there, when you've had to deal with the potholes along the way.
Yeah, and I think even even for example, like with my own, say, physique and that I used to compete and that sort of thing, but it's easy to sort of look at the upsides of what they have without really considering the other side of the coin, which is what are some of the downsides or sacrifices they had to go through to get the upsides. 100%. And not everyone really gives thought to, okay, so I'm now nearly 34, started working out when I was 16, that's almost 18 years, it's sort of 5 days a week at the gym and watching what I eat.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, that is going to amount to a level of physical condition that is going to be naturally superior to someone who doesn't work out and doesn't watch what they eat.
So what you're trying to say is, when I was eating at McDonald's at 16, it wasn't going to help me. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes. I mean, the old McDonald's obviously is fine, but I do think that's the thing, because people see someone with a certain result and they fantasize. One of my big topics that I love to share is when we suffer when we compare our reality, which has both sides of a coin, to a fantasy, which is all just one side, the upside.
Yeah.
So it's the fantasy of a successful business, the fantasy of wonderful wealth, the fantasy of a great physique, the fantasy of a wonderful relationship. All we ever fantasize about are the good components.
Yeah.
The companionship, the sex, or the fancy hotels I could stay at, the nice clothes I could buy, all the wonderful things, which is when we look at compared to certain areas in our life we're not too happy with, and we're only focusing on the downsides. So for example, someone's not in great shape and they focus on the downsides. I feel a bit lethargic, I don't feel confident, I don't have great energy, and the upsides of looking wonderful on the beach and having super strength. But it's also important to reflect on, okay, am I prepared to cut out the junk food? Am I prepared to dedicate 3 or 4 days to the gym and give up certain Netflix shows or get up at 5 a.m. before work? Suddenly it's like, I'm not sure. So then it's like, okay, so you think all the physique is fantastic, but the sacrifices made were less time with friends, more money on healthy foods and supplementation, etc. Are you prepared to spend more and spend less time with friends? And suddenly it just brings the fantasy bit back down to reality when we see both sides of it. And then a person can have a holistic perspective on what it actually takes to succeed in any given field, relationship, business, or physical health. And then suddenly there's less feeling of inadequacy if someone just owns their choices. So it's like, well, actually, no, I'm fine with being 5 kilos overweight, and because I love my travel experiences and I love sipping on the cocktails and I love a juicy burger on the weekends and I love going to the movies, and really I hate being at the gym. Lifting weight doesn't appeal to me at all. So you know what? All things considered, I'm pretty good where I'm at. Yeah. So this is the power of creating balanced perspective. Whereas if we only ever compare downsides of the current situation to upsides of something else, it just creates massive gaps between them.
It's a huge problem. I think what you touched on there, Byron, is that I don't think a lot of people are willing or prepared to do the most important word to create, which is sacrifice.
Yeah.
Your first thing you have to do, you can't build something on faulty foundations. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you got to do is actually start making the sacrifices, so you create a space so your new life can come in.
Yeah.
You know, and so one of the things I do, we have this sacrifice Wednesdays. So it's like hump day. You know, for people who work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And it's a little triangle that I say, well, what are you sacrificing today? It's like on the 3 edges of the triangle is sacrifice, determination, and focus. Right? And so that's the idea, is that if you've got those 3 things in place, you will actually end up leading the life that you really want to lead with those 3 things in place. Because you can't just say, I want this, without saying, well, I have to let go of these things, whether it's thoughts, emotions, you know, it could be food, it could be anything at all. You have to start letting go of some things to create that beautiful space for your new life to bear some more fruit.
Yeah, love it. And I think what can also help too is if we don't look at it as something we're losing, which is only a short-term thing, if we can have a compelling enough vision for what we're going to be gaining in that longer term. So it's whether we're making a sacrifice over here, but then over there, what we're going to be gaining in the longer term is so worth the effort. It's worth the trials and tribulations to accomplish that. So I think that, there's a key difference between short-term focus and being long-term focus.
100%. Like I look at that like a golf course. You know, a lot of people are wanting to get a par 3 life on the first round, first hole, and you got to be looking at 18 holes. You got to be looking for your long game as opposed to the short game, and knowing that if you're on a golf course, how good are you at golf if you just have one round? Right? You'd have to go and repeat, and that's where all the wisdom comes in, is that you have to be prepared to do something over and over and over again to master it, so then the life changes. Right? So this is what I think people miscue, is that I got this huge experience and now I know that life can change. Right? So you've got this new experience, and then if you repeat it, that new experience over and over again, it actually lands in your subconscious and becomes real. It's only real for that one little moment. And a lot of people have said to me, I had this experience with you, Jason, it only lasted 3 weeks. I'm like, well, what did you do? Did you do your old life or your new opportunity for those 3 weeks? I did my old life. It's like, right. Did you think that maybe if you kept doing your old life, all your old stuff would come back? I didn't think about it that way. You know, so you've got to be prepared, you know, to take the courage, you know, because it's actually safer and easier to live in your pain than it is to be living in a life of freedom, because you don't know what that actually looks like. So it's more frightening to step in the cauldron of it, even though when you do jump over the side, and I'm sure both you and I have had those experiences where we have jumped over the other side, we're like, you know, when you think, why didn't I do that before? It wasn't that bad.
But in hindsight,
isn't it? In hindsight, you look at it and you think, oh my God, that was actually not so bad. It is, to get there, it was terrifying because you're stepping on air rather than concrete. I think that's where people are much more comfortable in their painful couch than the one that is a new couch that creates alleviation, liberation, and change.
I love it. And I think a lot of people live life staring through the review, where it's they live, and then they look back, and then it's hindsight. Whereas I love the idea of foresight, is looking at your choices up front, going, okay, well, what are the benefits and drawbacks of each choice? So if I stay the same, or if I say there's something which is a bit confronting and requires stretching ourselves or being really uncomfortable, it's going, okay, so what may that cost me, but what may I gain from that? And then if I don't do it, what may that cost me, and what may I gain from that? And then suddenly you're becoming really present, because you're now obtaining foresight for your future. So you can then be conscious to go, okay, well, I'm aware of what the ramifications of this choice is going to be. So it kind of seems more wise to go this path, which is going to stretch me and be in the initial period uncomfortable, but then later on I'm going to gain a greater level of my evolution. Versus on the other side, if I stay the same, I keep getting these same results which aren't that satisfying. And the drawback of that is I feel probably worse about myself in time. But if we don't have these conscious thoughts, then we'll just keep the auto. What is, as I said, if we're not consciously aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it, then we're kind of existing on autopilot. So the more conscious we become, the more we can make those wiser decisions, isn't it?
It is, and I think Anya and I were looking, that's my wife and I, we were looking at a diagram around, you know, choices that people make, and under stress, people don't realise they're going to make the exact subconscious choice every single time if they don't have the awareness. So if someone's going to say you're not okay, so I'll give you a personal example around that. I used to feel like I was really stupid. Right? And so every time someone would call me stupid, I'd do the exact same thing. I would crawl up, so I get this feeling in my tummy, feel really, really bad. I'd actually shut down in a group and I'd stop talking. Right? And I did it every single time. And then I had someone help me around that. That night, someone called me stupid, and I actually, my gut opened. I said, "My man, that's okay. It's okay for me. It's okay for me to have that feeling.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer because I never did those patterns that I was doing every single time until I got the help that I needed to support that feeling that I had inside. Right? And all it was an opportunity to know that I was aware, but we just do that same patterning because it's so subconscious, and your subconscious is so much stronger than your brain. So if you're going to get called something, and I watch this with my partner and particular people, and I see them, okay, and I said this to a friend of mine, I was like, you watch the next 2 months, I explain, because I can sort of see what people are going to be like in their future. So I told a friend of mine what another friend of mine was going to do for the next 2 months. And she's looking at me just going, how do you know that? I said, well, I know the subconscious program. I know this has happened, and these are all the steps that this person is going to take to lead an abysmal choice, right? And she just watched it play itself out. Right? And it's really funky to know when you can see someone so clearly what their programs are going to do, because you can actually turn around and say, well, this is because of this program, you do these certain things. Once you change the programming, then you can change your life. Right? It does come down to that awareness. So then the moment a trigger happens, right, as an example, that trigger happens, you could have 5 or 6 choices with a trigger that comes your way under stress with awareness. So it's like, how old are you?
Nearly 34.
Do you know the $6 Million Man? Yeah, I think I'm a little bit too old. Yeah. So I was a kid. It was just like this show where every time something really cool happened, the $6 Million Man would move really, really slowly.
Okay.
But he was supposed to be going really fast.
Really? Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like that. Everything slows down, and you can see everything really, really clearly when you've got awareness. So it's like Roger Federer when he's hitting a tennis ball. Do you think he's got a little bit more time than a lot of the other tennis players?
Yeah.
And that's the reason, because he's actually got an awareness within his body to know exactly what to do. And it's the same with conscious awareness as well with your stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
I don't know. I think the best advice, I'm going to give you a little bit of a reversal for that. Okay? I've been told the best advice, the best information I was given was, you're never ever going to make it, Jason.
Okay.
Right? So I'm one of those guys who likes to prove people wrong. So I've actually had the opposite. People have said, you can't do this, you'll never get here, you'll never be able to do this. And I've taken all of those pieces of advice and actually changed them and made things happen. Right? So I haven't, in my personal life, I haven't really gotten so much inspirational advice. I've been told why I can't do stuff, right? So many times my school teacher said I was never going to amount to anything. I've had an auntie told me when I was 15, you're just going to be a dead end, do nothing sort of guy. And so those things have been really, really inspirational for me. I've sort of gotten the opposite feedback. And I've had to really find my own inner resources based on not having as much positivity in my life to draw on. And so I can't really say I've had really good inspiration. What have you been told? I've actually been told the opposite and proven it wrong.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
And if you could go back in time to, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say trust your own instincts. Stop trying to be everything for everyone. Because I was the guy who would land everyone would come and see Jason, and no one ever supported me. So I would say follow your own instincts, get support as opposed to be the supporter. I was always the rock and the advice giver for everybody. So I'd say maybe back that off a little bit and start having people use you, because I was always that, I'll go and call Jason. Jason will know this. Jason will help me here. Right? So I'd probably give that advice. Just say, choose people wisely. That really have your best interests at heart, rather than just want to use you because you're actually you got something that they're missing.
Love it. And it's amazing too when you look back that when you unravel some of that earlier advice or opinions other people had, how it became some of your greatest blessings, because that was the catalyst for you going, well, wait a minute, I don't believe that's true, and I'm going to go and find out how not to make it so, and to show that you can become an inspired individual, and now passing forward so much of the wisdom you've accumulated over the years from the initial catalyst of how you felt about yourself that led you on this journey.
Yeah,
which is amazing how things unfold.
I can't thank the people who have told me I could never make it more. You know, there was situations of people who have said things to me in the last couple of years that have said you can't make any money out of spirituality, you can't do what you're doing because no one's going to want it, and I love that because I get that information. It really spurs me on because I have a real passion that's bigger than me. Yeah, and I really enjoy having those people tell me something that says, "Hey, you can't," because I want. That actually spurs me, that part of me that gets me frustrated and rolled with my own passion about really what I want to share. And someone who's telling you something that they may not have achieved doesn't mean that you can't do it yourself. Right? And so I really like the fact that, you know, there's so many times where, you know, when I was in the IT industry, I was earning really, really good money. And I had people saying, you know, what are you doing this healing work for? You're going to end up broke, you're going to end up having no money, nothing's going to work for you. And I was just like, cool, there's my people with my little dartboard. And just going, okay, anytime I have that self-doubt, I think of Dave or I think of someone and just go, yeah, Dave told me I couldn't do that, so I'm just going to keep focusing with sacrifice, determination and focus, and I'll get there. You know, so
that's awesome.
So and sometimes we can draw inspiration from negativity.
Yes.
You know, have you done that where someone said you can't and you go, well, you know what? Because you said I can't, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to achieve because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't. Have you had that experience?
I absolutely have, and I find that gratitude is the greatest healer. Is seeing how events and situations and people have helped shape us and created our path to achieve a more inspired life. Then we look back and it's like, well, I don't have anything to forgive them for. They didn't do anything wrong to me on a macro cosmic level. I'm grateful for the experiences that helped me get on the track that I'm on now.
Yeah, 100%. I get so inspired by my past and see where I've come from and what I'm doing now. If I was talking to this, if I said this is what my future self was saying, this is what you're going to get up to, I'd be like, yeah, right. No chance. No chance of even thinking that I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I didn't have that self-esteem, you know, and that self-esteem had to be built. It wasn't naturally there. And, you know, it just takes that time. You know, and I'm so gracious of the people who told me I can't. They're the best people from my past.
It's a certainly powerful journey you've had, and how awesome that you're now able to pay forward all the lessons and learnings and wisdom that you've acquired over the years. And if someone wanted to find out more about you, where could they go, Jason?
So Facebook, Wellness Breakthrough Academy. Website, Wellness Breakthrough Academy. Cool. You know, get in touch with me. I love helping people. I love helping people find the keys that other people can't find. Awesome. Well, I'm respectful of your time, and I thank you so much for coming here today, Jason. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we could go for days if we didn't have to worry about time constraints, but thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to continuing our journey as colleagues on this mission. Yeah, look, I'm really excited to see your journey, Byron, because you've got something really big to share. I said that to you when I first met you at dinner. I was just like, oh, he's got a thing. So when I see someone who's got something really magnificent to share, I'm really excited to see where you're going to take yourself, because you're built to help people grow. I could see that the moment you sat down and we had a chat. I was like, oh, I like him. You know, and you've got that big presence about you. Also a big guy, a big presence about you and a big heart. And I think that's where you're going to, you know, just succeed in life. And I'm super inspired by, you know, just getting to know what you're doing now and where you're heading, because it's going to be big. It's going to be massive. You're going to be one of the people in Australia, I believe, that people are going to know of. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. All right. Been an absolute pleasure. You too. Thanks very much. Take it easy. Cheers, Jason.
There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Limitless with me, your host, Byron Sakha. If you found value in today's episode, then please do me a favor and drop me a review. I'd love to read what you have to say. And if there's any special requests you may have for future episodes so that we can keep delivering awesome value for you guys, please let us know. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe now on whichever platform you're connecting with us on, and be sure to share this episode with anyone you feel who can benefit from these episodes. And you can join us on this mission to helping people live limitlessly and obtain sustainable, lasting success. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach me at www.byronsakha.com or on my Instagram page at Byron Sakha, and I look forward to sharing the next episode with you soon.